You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers about hikers for everybody.
This is the Hammock Hangers Podcast, where we hang out and talk about everything from hammocks and hammock camping to the group hangs from around the country. Hey everyone, welcome to the Hammock Hangers Podcast, where we unwind, relax, and delve into all things hammock related. Join us as we swing into the world of hammocks, exploring tips and tricks for setting up that perfect hang, sharing stories of outdoor adventures, and discovering the latest trends in hammock camping and relaxation. Whether you're a seasoned hammocker or new to the art of hanging, this podcast is your cozy corner to kick back, escape the hustle and bustle of everyday life, and soak in the soothing atmosphere of the hammock culture. Prepare to be inspired, educated, and entertained as we embrace the hammock lifestyle together. So grab your favorite hammock, find that perfect spot to hang, and let's embark on a hammock-filled journey that will leave you feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, and ready to take on the world. This is the Hammock Hangers Podcast, where every episode is a breath of fresh air. Let's get started.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hammock Hangers Podcast. And we have this week a very special twofer episode. We have our very own Dutch from Dutchware Gear and his trusty sidekick slash partner in crime, Phi. So welcome, guys.
Hey.
Hello there.
All right. So you guys have had a pretty busy year. You guys have been really busy. Incorporating a lot of new things, kind of the Ridgeline system that you guys are working on. And so today we're going to be talking about some of the really cool things that are happening at Dutchware, including the Quilted Chameleon, as well as their new line of freeze-dried foods that they're going to be releasing here soon. If actually by the time this episode comes out, it'll already be out. So make sure that you go back and check that release and get all the information on there. Now, we've had Dutch on the show before, and a lot of you guys know him, but some of you may not be familiar with his partner. So, Phi, welcome to the podcast for the first time, my friend. It's good to have you on.
Thank you. Likewise. I appreciate you having me on.
So, Phi, talk to us about kind of like your camping history. Like, did you grow up camping, or is this something a relatively new hobby?
I tell you what, I'm not a complete newbie with the outdoors. Come from the outdoor industry, so I love being outside. Love doing biking with my kids, hiking with my kids, but camping in general was definitely it's new. I grew up as a Boy Scout, so I did a couple camping there, but doing it in a hammock was brand new to me.
Okay, awesome. So when did you kind of like introduce yourself into the hammock camping world versus sleeping in a tent or a camper?
Oh man, probably early 2022.
Okay. All right. So how did you get connected with the man, the myth, the legend, Dutch?
Just showed up at the doorstep.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, Phi, again, like I said, it's great having you on. And so let's get into talking about some gear. So as for listeners of the podcast, know I'm a huge, big fan of Dutch, and I would be hard pressed to go on a camping trip of any kind that at least some part of my gear did not come from Lancaster, PA, in some form, whether it be the material that my hammock is made out of, the suspension hardware that I'm using, the material that I'm using for the straps, or literally a chameleon itself. My gear closet is completely inundated with things from Dutchware. And I say that with pride because every piece of Dutchware gear that I have used has served me really, really well. The customer service that Dutchware has is second to none. Whenever I've had a question, comment, I've just given them a call, dropped them an email. They are quickly responsive. In fact, my one of my favorite Dutchware stories is actually based on a call that I had made to Dutchware. So it was back when you guys still sold the potato stand, and I had ordered one with a bunch of other things, and I got my order shipped in, and my potato stand wasn't there, and I was kind of spazzing out, and so I actually gave Dutchware a call, thinking I'm going to get some person, and Dutch, you actually picked up the phone, and you said hi, and you alleviate all worries that I had going on, and we were about to say goodbye, and you said, "I love you." And I think you were maybe talking to someone else, but I remember Susan, and I was kind of caught off guard, and I was just, I love you too, Dutch. And then I hung up the phone.
Yeah, I do actually pick up the phone and take calls if you do call our shop. We do actually try to give that level of customer service, um, and actually that connection with the customer is really important, especially when only half your order shows up. In your case, it was coming from two different places.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that is missing where you go, and I mean sometimes, usually you can't find a telephone number, and sometimes it's hard just to um, get an email. And if you do get a telephone number, they take you to a service that sends you on a loop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I echo what Dutch said there. I mean, just the team that we have built here in Dutchware, with being customer center focused, it's amazing just to see the joy of people excited that we're just picking up the phone.
Yeah, I think that speaks volumes, and it really uh, again alleviates any of that stress, because some of the gear that we purchase is not cheap, and when you can call a person that is in essentially the same building of the gear that you want to know about, or a person that can get an answer right off the bat, it's such a huge benefit to just the customer service experience as a whole. So for that, I commend you guys for that.
Even
So
if I don't
are
take
you
the
telling
call,
me, Dutch, that I'm not the only customer that you've said I love you to?
I tell them all that.
Oh, oh man, kind of buzzkilled out.
Um, so even if I don't take the call, I constantly, customer service will keep coming up to me and saying, "Hey, I have so and so on the phone, and they want to know if you can do this or that." And if we can, we try to do it. A lot of people like a lot of custom work though, and sometimes that bogs you down. I hate to say no, but sometimes you got to say no.
Yeah, so that's something that is kind of been that's something that I've noticed of a lot of our cottage vendors over the last probably couple of years, where if you would have said, I don't know, 5 6 years ago, pretty much all of our cottage vendors would offer an immense amount of a custom work, which is great in a way for the customer. But as far as a business, I can imagine it being kind of a pain in the butt. And I noticed a lot of a lot of cottage vendors going more to, kind of narrowing options, not really narrowing quality, but you can't necessarily choose every nook and cranny, just because you want to get your gear at some point, and you got to keep your business kind of running too. So um, and that's something I've definitely noticed from a lot of our vendors. But it's got to be a lot of easier on you to kind of limit options versus having 100 different options, having more, a set of a strict script per se.
If we
For that.
can do it, we're gonna do it. Um,
Mhm.
Although sometimes customers have very vivid imaginations, and they don't have very clear instructions for what they want. So um, you try to stay away from those ones where they want to build something that's never been built before. And if you don't think it's going to work, then don't do it.
So,
It's
so what are
for their
some
own good.
what are some crazy requests that you guys have gotten that just kind of took your breath away per se?
Oh, actually, there was and we filled this one. There was a 20 by 17 Dyneema tarp that we made one time.
Sweet fancy Moses.
So
Good Lord.
and it packed down to the size of a two toddlers. that's how that packed down to. But they were using it for mission work, and they were traveling Africa, and they wanted to make basically this huge canopy. So
Out of Dyneema?
out of Dyneema, we worked really hard on this one, and it was huge. I forget how many panels and how many rolls it was, and I know it was north
There's
of
a picture
$1,000
floating
for
around.
this tarp.
Oh wow. So one of the kind of big best sellers, I guess, for you is your Chameleon hammock and really the Chameleon ecosystem. I have a few of them, and by a few of them, I think I'm up to like 7 or so of just the Chameleon hammocks and some of the options that you guys have with that. Now the Chameleon hammock, you actually released it at HangCon. Back when we were still at Doe Lake. Do you think the Chameleon is still probably your still biggest seller?
Oh, by far, it's there's nothing that is close to the Chameleon. We have been able to build on that and update that through the years, and there's a way that fits our business strategy in trying to ship fast, is because we make all these different components. So if somebody wants a blue top cover and a red bottom, I don't have to make that hammock. I can make blue top covers and I can make red bottoms and put it together at point of shipping. So it wasn't just the hammock itself, but the way it fit into our into our manufacturing system. And then also we like to keep innovating. So we have been able to do that with the Chameleon, with things like we've added different accessories, and we have the spreader bar bug net, which I think is absolutely fantastic. I won't go in a hammock without the spreader bar bug net anymore. And now the Quilted Chameleon
It's
is a
definitely
perfect
one of those
example.
things that you didn't know that you needed until you had one.
Absolutely. I never knew how much I didn't like tie outs until I had the spreader bar bug net, and you don't need a tie out, and the bug net stays off your face. The hammock stays open. When you unzip, it pops it open for you. And it's such a simple little thing. So I love that option on my top cover or my bug net.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of like the selling point for me is when people ask me, if I'm looking at getting a really nice gathered in hammock that can do pretty much anything and everything, the Chameleon is really the kind of my first suggestion, just because of that versatility. If you need a top cover, you can order a top cover. If you need a bug net, you can order a bug net. You don't have to order it all at one time. And you could change your mind and say, hey, I like this color versus this color. So you can just order a different top cover, and it's going to fit that hammock. I think that's, kind of a really cool thing about the Chameleon that we don't see from a lot of other vendors. And just the amount of accessories that you can take one hammock and turn it into a litany of other different configurations, all a matter of, plugging in different order of Legos.
When I first launched that, I was so afraid that I was missing something. And you'll notice D-rings all around it and different attachment points. And of course, the zipper system is really the key to making that the way it functions. But I was still afraid of, man, am I missing something? Do I need another D-ring at another place that we're going to have to attach something someplace? But I so far have not found that D-ring that was missing on it.
So is it safe to say, so when you release the Chameleon, how is there any difference between that initial model that you released at HangCon and the model that you would get ordering one today?
No, they're really the same.
That's pretty incredible. That's pretty incredible that it obviously you did something right the first time.
Yeah. Actually, I was just thinking it's been 7 years
Yeah,
since.
I was thinking myself, like, because we haven't been at Doe Lake for a good long while, and yeah, well, that's really cool. So, but you have changed the Chameleon, and you in a way that you have a new model. You now have a Chameleon with an integrated underquilt, which I think is, I would like to say, the new forward way that hammocks are kind of being developed, or a kind of the new kind of thought into the market that makes gathered in so much better. So you take everything that you had with the Chameleon, that is really awesome. If you guys haven't had a chance to check out Dutchware's Chameleon, it's pretty wicked sweet gathered in. But you've added an underquilt, and for me, one of the reasons that I went full time to a bridge hammock versus a gathered in, the biggest thing was I hated fiddling with an underquilt. Now you can get the clips and you can do the over the ridge line. There's things that you can do to mitigate, but the fact that you've got to do it still bothers me. And especially if you're looking at temperatures, I mean, depending on how you sleep, 20 degrees or lower, if you don't have things set up, or especially like those crazy folks in Minnesota that are going down to the negative temperatures, if you don't have something set up just perfectly, you're not only getting cold, like you're putting your life in harm's way in a way, but having an integrated underquilt kind of mitigates a significant portion of that. So I kind of want to talk about the insulated Chameleon, and kind of what was the process of bringing that into fruition?
Well, the adding insulation to the hammock, actually, it precursored the Chameleon. And when I originally started doing it, it was actually on a bridge hammock. Even though I haven't, I was, it was a long time till I actually released a bridge hammock. But this was something that I'd worked on for quite a long time, because um, there was some challenges with it that I knew had to be overcome. And the way to overcome them was mostly in the fabric that is used. Most hammock fabrics are not downproof. So if you put down beside the hammock, it is going to go through quite easily. There's another problem, is the stitches will often pull because your hammock body stretches and the quilt doesn't. So you're then trying to stretch a non-stretchable fabric. Almost all quilts are not made out of a knit. They're made out of a non-stretching woven fabric. So the if you're trying to pull a non-stretchable fabric by stitches, it's going to pull the stitches. And those were the two main areas that we had to overcome. And I worked in two directions in order to do that. One was I tried doing some bonding, and that way there was not stitches that would attach to it. And that worked fairly well. And I thought that was actually where we were going to wind up with, was finding a method of bonding a quilt to the fabric that worked well enough. And then I needed a downproof fabric, and I just came back from China at the mill, and I asked them to manufacture me a fabric, and they showed me the Dobby material, and the way it has this really cool psychedelic checkered look to it. And I really thought that it was going to be perfect. It was strong, and it had a very tight weave, and it has just the right kind of stretch. It conforms to your body, but then it gives a very firm lay, which is what I really like in a hammock. It's actually what I really liked in the cloud fabric. Now that had even more stretch than what the had quite a bit more than the Dobby does. But I needed it not to move inches, but only, half an inch or something, and that I could deal with. So with the Dobby material, I found that I didn't need to do the bonding. And then I had to sew the quilted part to it. One of the areas where this was really made an improvement, before people had made insulated hammocks, they had to make 3 layers because they would have to sew it, basically your quilt to another hammock layer that then was suspended under your hammock, just like a quilt basically is, only with a better suspension system that kept things tighter. This quilted hammock, and we call it a quilted hammock because the quilting is truly on the hammock, and the only thing you have is 2 layers. You have the hammock fabric, and then you have an outer shell. In between those, the only thing that's in between those is the down feathers. So you really have the insulation completely up against your body, and you're insulating as efficiently as possible. But I first started with making a bridge hammock. That's really easy because just as it's easy to put a quilt onto it, you know exactly where the body is going to lay onto a bridge hammock, and it's right down the middle. So that was the first one that I did, and we worked on it from there. We started working on patterning back in 2016, and the only fact that the chameleon hammock was not even conceived at that point, and we're only adding it to a product after the fact.
So let's talk about when you say down proof. What exactly makes a fabric down proof?
So there are a couple factors that are in it. One is the tightness of the weave, and most quilt shells that you'll see, they tend to have a very tight weave. If you hold them up to the light, you'll get very little light directly coming through it. You might be able to shine through it because it's somewhat translucent, but you're not going to see any direct light. And then they do one more step to it. Most often is they calendar it, which basically is running it over a curling iron, and this melts the threads just slightly so that they melt together and close up any gaps that are in it. So that was done with the Dobby fabric, and it made it so that the inside has this real soft lay that feels good against the skin, but the outside, you'll see it has a bit more of a shine, and that's because that has been calendared. And that is why you get no feathers poking through it, is because basically you've sealed up all the holes.
Okay. What type of down are you looking at as the insulation?
We are starting with 850 down. I don't believe that we will ever go lower than that. I might use up insulation, which is our synthetic. I hope you can appreciate the joke. It's not down, it's up. But the I believe that as we evolve with this product, we will come out with some higher fill downs. The cost gets pretty high when you start getting over 850, and we found that 850 is like really in that sweet spot where you got a really excellent down and the price isn't completely off the charts.
Well, comparing downs for those that don't know, what would be the difference? Because I just received a quilt from Loco Libre that's 900 power down. I know Trailheads, they make some quilts. Their ethereal quilts are up to like 1,000 fill power down. What's if I'm looking at either Chameleon or just down in general? Can you talk about for the difference, or what's the difference between an 800 or 800, 850, 900 fill power? What does that mean for the common folk?
So that is how many cubic inches per ounce is going to fill. So if something, a very common one, when you get a down jacket, they have about 600. Some of the higher end ones have 650. And you can imagine that per ounce, that's how much loft you're going to get. So if it's the higher the number, it means the more cubic inches that you're filling with that same weight. So if someone has a jacket that has a 300 fill down, which is a very low rating, and they have 5 ounces of down in it, and then another person has one that's 600 fill power, and it has it's going to loft up twice as much as the person with the 300. So the difference between 850 and 900, and then even 900 to the 1,000 of those ethereal quilts, which 1,000 fill down is absolutely amazing. There's no feathers in it. It's very hard to come by, but the difference between that is it's pretty good, but it doesn't justify some of the prices that you have to pay for it. So that's why we're going to start with 850.
You're looking at a price for 1,000 fill power down quilt. You're looking at a pretty penny.
I don't really know how they get. They're really picking out just the most. Down is amazing, and man has still not even come close to making something that can insulate and have the properties of down. And 1,000 fill down it's off the charts. Trailheads, I'd love to give them a shout out. They're ethereal quilts, and a lot of the gear that they're making is so fantastic in the ultralight world.
Well, speaking of the weight and the ultralight, I think that would be a huge benefit of having just the single layer between your quilt and the hammock body on the insulated chameleon, is you don't have the weight of that whole extra layer of fabric. So if you are, weight conscious, that's something else to take in consideration.
There's a little bit more to it than that. There's also, I only insulate right where the body lays, and very often these underquilts, they have to make it so that it is going around the whole bottom of the hammock, and you are insulating more than what you have to. So there is not only just a weight savings there in fabric and down, but there's also a cost savings because down is expensive, and there's also going to be how much is going to compress down to, because everything has a cost somewhere, and you're gonna, if you can make it so that you're only really covering where your body is. If you hold this up against a regular underquilt, that you have to make it so truly they are 48 inches wide, going the whole 6-7 foot long, to make it so that wherever your body is going to be insulated. So that's another huge savings is in the cost and the weight.
Okay, so with that said, so for those that are looking at the insulated chameleon, they correct me if I'm wrong, but they are an asim lay hammock. Like they have a particular way that you have to lay, or is it symmetrical with the insulation, or just asymmetrical?
This first one is asymmetrical. I am sure we're going to be coming out with models. Actually, we're coming out with some new hammocks that are going to use this same technology, but we are releasing it first with people lay diagonally in a hammock, as many people know, and we're starting out with head right, feet left.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So, let's talk about some other things that you guys have kind of coming down the pike. You guys are going to be releasing some dehydrated food, and so let's kind of talk about that. Are you guys looking at meals or individual ingredients? How is that rollout coming?
Well, actually, Phi was just doing a lot of packaging up on this today, so why don't we let Phi take a question?
Yeah, so actually it's freeze dries. Freezing.
Okay.
So
freeze dry versus dehydrate. Okay.
Yep.
Well, can you tell us the difference?
Yeah. So the way freeze drying work versus dehydrating, you're saving a lot more of the nutrition, right? So the all the perks of having the fruit or the can or the meat stays in with your packaging. When you rehydrate it, you're getting all that benefit back into it.
I think like just from my personal experience with different types of trail meals and things along those lines, freeze dried meals tend to reconstitute a lot better than your dehydrated ones as well. And in turn, taste factor wise, I'll take a freeze dried over dehydrated any day.
Yeah, the biggest
Absolutely.
reason for that
Quality.
is when you freeze it, you're actually freezing the cell structure, and then they heat it up slowly in a vacuum, so it takes the moisture out. And the product winds up being like a sponge. So the bananas and the strawberries, and they retain not just their nutrients but also their size, and this really helps to be able to get moisture back into it to rehydrate it. When you do kiwi and you rehydrate it, it has that slimy feel that kiwi does when you slice it when it's fresh. It's kind of freaky and amazing. But the bananas, we were trying the bananas today, and I was like, wow, that is way better, and it's better than, say, a banana chip that has a bunch of sugar on it. This really tastes like banana, and when you reconstitute it, it's really like a slice of banana. Another key difference is that when you dehydrate, you're actually cooking the water out of it, and so that's where you lose your nutrients. But it also changes the texture into these little hard nuggets, and also you're only removing 90% of the moisture. When you freeze dry, you're removing 99% of the moisture, so you are taking off more weight, and it's going to last a lot longer. A freeze-dried food will last easily in the right conditions 25 years, which is a very long time. And the dehydrated, they're usually about a year.
Do you like, for example, as far as like a recipe goes, are you guys gonna be releasing like a beef stroganoff, or are you just releasing kind of like the meats and the powdered cream cheese or something along those lines?
Now, AG, don't you think beef stroganoff has been done to death already?
I mean, it can, but if it ain't
I,
broke, don't fix it. I mean,
Actually, that's one of my favorites, but I don't know that I'm going to do a beef stroganoff, because I think the beef stroganoffs that I've had from the big freeze dried companies, they tend to use I don't know, like chemicals and powders to come out with that that sauce, and
yeah, it's weird.
that's probably I want to be a little bit more wholesome than that. So we do things in phases, and this is not going to be any different. And this is actually our second time of launching freeze dried foods. We did it also back in 2018, 2019, and I stopped doing it because when COVID hit, everybody was panic buying freeze drying foods, and I was alone in the shop trying to package this up. So we were buying freeze dried foods in bulk, and then putting them in little 2-ounce containers. And I'd go do this to a bunch of green beans, and then I'd go put them on the site, and an hour later someone would come on and buy all of them, and I would ship them all out in the same box. And I'm like, why am I dividing these up just to have somebody buy them all? So I couldn't keep up with it, and we shuttered it down. So we decided to do it again, and now that we're doing it again, we're taking a different approach. And that approach is we are going to we bought our own freeze dryers. So we got commercial freeze dryers, and we want to do small batches of foods when they are least expensive and in season. So strawberries come in season, we're going to freeze dry a whole bunch of strawberries and then put them out on the market. And since they're going to keep for 25 years, it doesn't matter if they're bought in the fall or in the winter or something like that. And I'm going to stick to, in the beginning, the simple ingredients that you add to your meals. So you can add ground beef to your ramen, or the some of the vegetables are incredible. The green peppers is like one of my favorites. and you can make like a cheeseburger wrap or something like that that has all these ingredients that you can enhance your meal. Why I really like this is because people have dietary needs, and some people are some people can't have the gluten, some people can't have dairy and stuff like that. And now you can make your own kind of custom meals that also are going to have pretty good nutrition and not have all the salt that the freeze-dried meals that you get prepackaged today have.
Yeah, I'd say that's one of the biggest downfalls for me as far as the backpacking meals do. If you look at the sodium content, it's astronomical. Especially if you're looking at some of the, like you said, the big name freeze dried. That number is just enormous compared to what you would fix in your own home and then dehydrating it. How long does the dehydration process compare with the freeze drying process, as far as time goes?
Um, Actually, I don't really think they're. I've never actually. I've done my own dehydrating, but I never did it on a commercial basis. I bet they're pretty similar, but freeze dried can very often take 30 to 36 hours, and it's pretty remarkable process that it goes through. And we're really talking small batches. You're putting in 5 trays of chicken, and it it does all of its cycles automatically. You may have to go in there and check it, and we have to check it with moisture measure and things like that to make sure that it's perfect. But um, I believe that it's probably about the same amount of time, but one's doing it with heat and the other one's doing it with a vacuum and frozen. We do plan
I
on
think
coming out
another.
with meals, but I think that's going to be phase 2, and we're going to be
Okay.
combining freeze dried noodles with freeze dried spaghetti sauce and that type of thing.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And I think also, especially with you talking about the fruit and being in season, I think that's a great idea. Because another thing that I know that I've really enjoyed, and I've been to some of the craft festivals around here, a lot of people are doing freeze dried stuff just to eat. So, like your fruit and things, you don't have to reconstitute it. You could throw a bunch of freeze dried strawberries into your granola bar, or just a bag of trail mix that you're just kind of trying to spice up. So another really great option for the freeze dried fruits and veggies too.
You know what I was doing the other day was just getting the fruit and actually tossing it in my water, so you can have that infused water. It tastes amazing.
Oh wow, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm really excited about the food option, especially like in season fruits and things like that. It's really nice. I'm gonna have to try some of those freeze dried strawberries when you get them. And Fee, I love the idea of throwing them in your water. I know that's kind of a big thing now. I have a circle bottle that I've used, and but those containers, that they go through really really quickly, and so you just end up with an excess of garbage that's going to end up in a landfill. But taking some of those freeze dried strawberries or any other fruit and just kind of crunching them up. That's something else that I really like about freeze dried versus dehydrated. You can really crumble that stuff into a dust really easily and throw them in the water. I'm glad you mentioned that, Fee. I'm going to have to take that into investigation here. So,
Absolutely.
speaking of future adventures, so you were going to be starting kind of a vlog series with some of your adventures. I know that you've done kind of video vlogging with some of your bikepacking trips and some of your other trips that you've taken. So what are some of the future video media outlets that we're going to see from Dutchware?
We have certainly been up in our game on our videos. We're doing live streams now that we're going to be doing every Wednesday, and I don't know that I'm good at it. I'm trying to be good at it, trying to be entertaining and be informative, very interactive. Just like our customer service, we try to have people come in with questions and answers, and try to handle different subjects, and um, and the vlogging is really new, and it's really kind of new to me. I very often did my videos without scripts, just kind of, hey buddy, I'm Dutch and this is my thing and this is what this thing does, and thank you everybody, and I'm out. um, but this is certainly much longer content with much deeper subjects, and we are trying to be more intentional with education on it.
The nice thing about the vlog as well is, I think, Dutch, you add a more personal. I mean, your other videos was already personal, but this, you really get a inside of Dutch mind, because he really does share it on a personal note.
And I think that kind of speaks volume as well, for a lot of our vendors. When we see you guys at Hangs, you're using your gear, like you trust your gear, and I think people seeing that and seeing other people as well that they trust your gear, it speaks volume. With the education, I completely agree. I think, with the status and the growth that I've seen in the last 3 years with the hammock community world, there's so many new hangers, and they don't know what they don't know. I've joked with Paul, whenever we go to a campground, when we travel over the summer or just throughout the year, I see so many of these hammocks that are just like, hey, can I just add a ridge line here to, it's going to make this hammock so much better. Kind of like a project ridge line that to make a bunch of them just to just give to people. Cause again, I came back from a bushcraft weekend with Florida Bushcraft, a couple weeks ago, and I did a hammock demonstration in a Dutch netless. And I brought this one lady up that had never been in a hammock, but she was curious. And I said, hey, I want you to lay in this for me. And just like she just laid straight in the hammock and kind of banana style. And she's like, this isn't comfortable. And I said, how about you just turn, maybe 30 degrees a diagonal. And it was like this light bulb went off. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so comfortable. And just that one simple thing that, she had never been exposed to it, completely changed her view of a hammock and that situation.
Absolutely. And just to touch on base of the other series that we're coming out with, what is, gear that you should have. I think we're going to be flooding, reels with gears that you might not even knew that we have, just because our catalog is so big, and we're being a little bit more intentional of saying, hey, that gear that you thought you didn't need or you didn't think there was a solution for, we probably already have it, right? And being able to just showcase that is very important to us. And then the next thing is actually the Dutchware difference. That's something that is really exciting, because not only we kind of get to educate, but we give platform for people to understand why they should be excited about Dutchware Gear products, but not only get excited, but for those that already have it, why they should be proud of it. Why lay in a chameleon? Why lay in a banyan? Why use a Dutch clips?
Yeah, you guys do have an immense catalog with a plethora of different nicks and knacks that you can use for not just your hammock, but also your suspension and your ridge line. And again, I tell everyone that the greatest thing about the hammock camping kind of option is for when you go camping is literally anything and everything is customizable. The downside is literally everything is customizable. So it can get very overwhelming, but just having that option that, hey, I don't like this one thing, hey, I can change it out to something different, that I can get rid of a knot, or I can use a knot. It's just a matter of choose your own adventure in the outdoor realm.
Yeah, and even the print the fabric, I think we don't give enough love for it, just because, man, we're doing some amazing printing on tarps, right? The bonded tarps, man. We've been seeing amazing designs from not only stock license prints, but just people saying, I want to showcase my personality and they're printing it, or someone like myself, I love to showcase my family. So, I mean, you saw my family tarp.
Yeah, your family tarp is pretty wicked sweet.
Yeah, and it was all iPhone pictures. So being able to export at that quality and blow it up, I mean, I'm getting excited to see more people utilize that.
Oh, absolutely. I would say, in my opinion, that's probably been one of the biggest innovations in the last few years is the ability to take something that you truly love and put it on a piece of gear, like a tarp, like a quilt. And I agree. I've seen so many amazing designs come out. For example, our Hancon tarps originally came from a picture taken at Hidden Pond, right on the Florida Trail, and it's kind of been configured and manipulated and things like that. But again, we were able to take that one picture, put it through a bunch of process, and that Florida camo that you guys have, I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's really really cool.
The education part of it, it's easy to forget that a lot of people are new to this. And when you've been doing it for 10 years or longer, and you didn't see it come piecemeal. I mean, I certainly remember before underquilts, and and it's when it comes to you piecemeal like that, it's easy to digest it. But when you sit down, if you go into Dutchware's website, it is really easy to be overwhelmed. So I don't think that we have paid enough attention in the past to education, and Phi has really been helping to orchestrate that. And I think actually being a little bit outside the industry really has helped because he came in asking all the right questions as to what is ripstop fabric and what is the difference between xenon fabric or a sil nylon fabric. And and you get lost when you're so close to it, and you kind of miss that that other people didn't get it in a slow digestion of after through 10 years. So um, it's actually been it's been fun to try and educate.
AJ, you know what I get the benefit of seeing every day, right? And actually, again, like Dutch say, seeing it at a high level view, right, is not only understanding the product itself, but understanding the engineering that it went through to get to its process. Dutch is like a mad scientist when he's creating, right? And he has that first principle thought process, right? So he doesn't think about, hey, this is what everybody's asking for. He goes 3 step deeper, right? And looking at, okay, this is what everybody's asking for, but how can I make it at the most simplest form? And what else is it affecting, right? The cost, not only the cost, the durability. Is it going to last forever? Does it need to last forever? And what weight going down to the atom of a fabric so it can make not only structurally sound but the most comfortable. And it's amazing that's overseen by many other gear that I have witnessed. And I just love the tunnel vision when he gets into, hey, I want to make this, and let's do it right now.
And that's awesome that like you have the ability. And I think Fee that you bring a really good point. There's a immense amount of factors that go into the engineering process, taking something from a thought and putting it to market that the common people they not to trash on them, but they just can't understand just because they're not in that environment and not exposed to that process. And I don't envy you all in the slightest when it comes to that product development. I just like being able to just order your stuff and really enjoy it.
You know what the other perks that we get as well is we're surrounded by such a great network, right? And when we talk about the network, we're talking about the customer base that is not shy of sharing feedback, right? But then we also have our friends, just the other vendors that are creating, right? That we can throw ideas off of, and not only throw ideas off of, collaborate. and make a product that we need the collective brain power too.
Yeah, I'd say like I love seeing our vendors that hangs, just hang out together. I love seeing you guys and Jacks Are Better kind of shoot the breeze, and not just talking, but just the relationship that you guys have, and some of the other vendors. That just kind of warms my heart I think that speaks volume not only to you guys but also to the hammock community in itself as a whole.
For sure. Somebody's relationship goes beyond the trees.
Yeah, absolutely. I get tickled every time that I think about UGQ and Hammock Gear kind of having that that battle of the quilts kind of thing with each other. That was just hilarious, and that happens a lot more than people may realize. It's not just something like, oh well, we're against each other. No, we really are a kind of a big benefit for the community as a whole.
Actually, I've always felt that this community of the vendors. First of all, the community is really lucky to have the cottage vendors that have brought so much over the past 10 years. But there's a lot of collaboration that has gone on. The Anaconda would be a great example. That was Chris Gherkin's original idea, and he took it to Trailheads, and Trailheads went and said, the manufacturing that was a little bit beyond him, and they got me involved. But that was here's something that we all worked and brought this product, and I think the Anaconda is an amazing product, which is it makes setting up and tearing down a hammock so much quicker and faster, and then compresses it all down. Another good example of that is Jacks Are Better making the zip-on underquilt for the Chameleon, and it is something that we worked on. We started that discussion years ago, and we released it last year, and it's been it's turned the Chameleon right there into a very versatile removable installation that is not going to slip off your shoulder. And here it is, really Jacks Are Better making another Chameleon accessory.
Absolutely. So what are you've speaking going on with the videos and talking about the education and your vlogging, you have a kind of a big thing that you've got planning for next year with you and your daughter. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So last year, my daughter said, Dad, if I graduate early, can you go and take me on a thru-hike of the AT? And I didn't think about that too much before I said, heck yes. So, so much goes into raising a child, and I've put my heart and my soul into my child. It's this. So at the very end, before I send her off to college, I'm going to get this 6-month thru-hike where we're going to hike together and go through the mud and the blood and the blisters of hiking the AT. I did it back in 2003, and to do it again, it is, man, it makes me so happy. And this is something that nobody would ever be able to take away. Long after I'm gone, she's going to be like, I remember that time I thru-hiked with my dad. And she's going to be able to say for the rest of her life, I'm a thru-hiker.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So when are you planning on leaving, or do you guys, was it just kind of like an initial planning, or?
So she has to graduate high school. She's 17 now, and she's going to graduate early so that she can do this. So she has been taking extra classes. The girl's a sponge when it comes to education, and we're talking 4.0 grade average, and she's taking AP courses, and with that, she is graduating early, and she's going to graduate in February of next year, and we're going to hit the trail right away so we can get done by August so she can start college.
That's awesome. That's really, really great. Because, I would say that's one of the greatest things that we can do for our kids. It's not, buying them the latest and the greatest things. It's providing them with the opportunities that they can carry on long after we're gone. I thoroughly I commend you for even offering that opportunity for your daughter. I think that's incredible. Absolutely.
I know the lessons that you learn
Now,
on a through
is she
hike.
going to do it in a hammock?
Oh, actually, I'm developing a new hammock just for doing this.
Oh,
So
wow.
I plan on having a I'm trying to make a chameleon with a lot of the versatility, but I want to lighten it up a little bit, and it's going to be basically my through hiker hammock. And
I
I know
mean,
some places where I can get that a little bit lighter. I'm
awesome.
even trying to
Awesome.
develop a new zipper for it to really lighten the load.
Oh, incredible. So make sure that you guys pay attention and stay tuned for Dutchware's videos. It looks like they've got some exciting ingredients in the brew happening.
But back on the through hike, my I know the lessons that you learn, and I think that this is going to be fantastic because we carry our burdens through this world, and you really learn that when you're through hiking, and when you have to carry all your possessions, you get to um, learn a little bit more about what possessions are important. To have to go through some of the suffering that you do, um, it is going to be lessons that can't be taught any other way.
100%. 100%. And the earlier, and I think those lessons, the earlier on that we learn those, the greater and greater dividends they pay later on down the road.
Yeah, when she was, I don't know, she was, I think maybe 4 years old. I used to tell her that the 5 second rule doesn't count for me because I'm a through hiker, and through hikers can eat anything as long as the M&M is still white. You can eat it. And one day she went and she dropped a piece of cheese, and she picked it up and she put it in her mouth, much to her mother's horror. And she goes, "It's okay. Daddy and I are through hikers. We can eat anything."
Oh, me. Well, I'm really looking forward to following that. I've talked with my wife, and the possibility of me looking at a long distance section hike, or maybe a through hike of the AT, has become more of a reality the last few years. And so I'm definitely going to be catching in with bated breath on your entire journey. That's really, really cool.
It has been one of the reasons why we've been doing more vlogging, so that I get a little bit better with handling the camera equipment, and I hope to be able to document it better.
Yeah,
Awesome.
the other cool thing about that as well is, like Dutch mentioned earlier, his mind has shifted to help create gear for his through hike. So imagine when he's done, how many other gear he's going to create, because he's gonna be like, I wish I had this on the, like, I can make this and help somebody else's. So that 2025 through hike is going to have a cool wave of gear being developed. But I'm excited to see what happens for the 2026, 2027 seasons.
Oh, absolutely. So Dutch, just a quick question. How do you think, 2025 Dutch body is going to be different than 2003 Dutchware body as far as the actual hiking goes?
I remember after I actually, my knees. I have a lot of miles on my knees. I ran a lot of marathons, and of course I got a through hike, and I've done a lot of other hiking, and I think my knees are going to be in shape for it. But I know that I get aches and pains more now than when I was younger. Recovery is so much slower. When I sit up, I usually make some kind of noise, whether it's a grunt or my knees cracking or something like that. So there's going to be a lot more complaining this time around.
Oh, my. So, well, speaking of traveling and things along those lines, last year you guys went on a really an incredible trip to Japan for a Dutchware only hang, a chameleon hang over there, and you guys did some international travel within the hammock community. Paul and myself and a few others are going to be heading over to Denmark literally a week from today. What are some tips and tricks that you guys would tell us with bringing a hammock gear going camping across the pond that you may have known, or some things that you didn't know that you wish you knew?
Well, we do a lot of traveling, regardless, and whether it's international or not, and we have a certain way that, like, we eat like hikers when we travel, so that you can avoid having to eat every meal at a restaurant. And so we'll have tortillas with us, and we'll have salami and cheese, and that will be your dinner. And it helps you to be able to move quicker, not have to stop at a restaurant and eat. We'll eat nowadays. We're trying to cut out the carbs, so we'll eat a lot of cauliflower dipped in blue cheese dressing while we're traveling, and we carry that into overseas travels too. And also, just traveling light is something that you certainly learn. Just like in a thru hike, we are getting ourselves down into the smallest possible package, and being able to if you're taking public transportation and things like that, you really don't want to be taking anything more than a backpack. And if I can make all my travels in just a backpack, then that is a total win, and that's what I'm going for. We even get down to very small travel bags if it is a domestic, and we're able to travel just like a hiker, only it just happens to be going through an airport. Same benefits.
Yep. What I like to add on that is I think it's probably one of the most important thing with traveling is, you know, the sights, the scenes are cool, but I think Dutch said it before, the people that you meet, the people that you do it with, man, that makes the world of the difference, right? I mean, taking pictures of a building is cool, but taking a picture of who you went with and you can reflect back, or someone sleeping on the plane and you can capture that and, hold over their head a couple of times is also well worth better than a picture of a building or a tree.
I have a
Right.
lot of pictures of Fee sleeping on a plane.
Now, when you guys flew over to Japan, what was your longest leg of your flight?
Oh, it was definitely the final one where we went from Montreal. Basically, you're going over the Arctic and going over the North Pole to wind up in Tokyo. And I think that was one way I think was 12 and a half, and the other way might have been 13 and a half hours flight. That's a long time to be in a plane. Actually, I remember that the overhead was full, so I had to have my backpack stuffed not quite below in the seat in front of me, and having absolutely no room for my feet during that trip over there. It was a pretty miserable flight over there.
And
Oh, wow.
we were both in the middle, and the seat that we were in the middle was like, there was like bumps, there was lumps, so you really couldn't even get the backpack in fully.
Oh my Lord! I'll hopefully that knock on wood, that's not going to be the case for us. Hopefully, we'll have plenty of legroom. Completely free and in economy probably won't happen. But
Yeah, my other key is aisle seat. What I learned the most from my trip from Tokyo: get the aisle seat.
Get the aisle seat. All right. Well, this will be Paul's first time on an airplane. Period. So
No way.
I am crazy excited about this. Because I was like, I want to be. I don't care, because at one point we were talking about if he would fly out of Orlando, I'd fly out of Tampa just because of where we live. But I'm like, no, I want to be on a plane with him when he gets on for the first time. So
The
But
first time
I'll
this
happily give
turbulence
him the window
turn to him,
seats.
first bit of turbulence, turn to him and say, "Is that normal? I've never seen that before. Is that a wheel falling off?"
Oh, me. Well, let's wrap up with one final comment. Not just talking about the community, which we've talked about a few times here, but just seeing we're going to be doing HangCon Europe next week, and you've gone to a lot of places around the country, not just at hammock hangs, but also outdoor expos. Where do you see the status of the hammock community as a whole right now? Do you see it's kind of plateaued? Is it growing? What are your kind of thoughts on the hammock community?
I've heard for 10 years that the innovation is, we've come to an end of the innovation, and then we just keep pushing the limits more and more. It is gonna it's gonna keep. We're going to be able to push some more boundaries, particularly in the world of fabrics. Um, I'm excited for what's coming around the corner, and also what some of these other vendors are doing. Things like Trailheads, with how light they've been able to make systems. They're down. I mean, they're way below sub 10 on their pack weights for going hammock camping, which is just unheard of, and it is actually bringing more people into the market because we are able to rival those ultralight tents or those people that just sleep on a pad with a tarp. And it's going to bring more people into the community that as the systems get easier and lighter and better to and we're still in the infantile stage of hammock camping.
Excellent. What about you, Fee? How are you seeing the status of the hammock community right now?
I agree. I kind of echo with what Dutch is saying there. There's so many opportunities. I think actually our friend Yobo is spearheading on how to kind of educate the younger generation, right? With their new stand, with the new smaller hammocks that we're going to make for them. It's I only projecting the TAM to grow.
Yeah, I'm really excited with the innovation, and I agree. I've heard for 10 years, like, how much more can you do with a hammock? How much more can you do? But you guys are. I think one of the key things that has kind of blown my mind the past few years, if you were to look at hangs 3-4 years ago, I mean, you might see an occasional stand here or there, but just the amount of Yobo stands and Tensa stands that we saw at just two of the bigger hangs that we went to last year is just really incredible.
Yeah. And I speak on because I'm in Dutchware and I see it every day. Man, if you can only see our sprint boards and our project boards, I mean, it's we can pull any sticker at any time and start developing.
I can only imagine what conspiracy theory wall look-alike that might look like.
You have no idea. It moved into the kitchen.
Good deal. All right, everybody. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this week. I'd like to thank Fee and Dutch. Thank you guys for coming on and talking about your great gear, and thank you guys for all that you do for the hammock community, for producing the gear that we all do, supporting the hammock community through you're attending in hangs. You guys run your own hang that we didn't really get a lot of chance to talk about, but I definitely want to have you guys and Vicky come on to talk about Maha. And I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the incredible things that you guys do. So again, thank you guys for all that you do, and thank you for making good stuff.
Well, AJ, thank you for the platform, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate what you do.
And have a really awesome time over at HangCon Europe. I'm really jealous. I wanted to go, but I didn't even have time to even look if I can do the flight. So I knew that one was out of the question, being a couple days after Maha.
Good deal. All right, everybody. Until next time, happy hanging.
As we gently sway out of another hammock-filled episode, we want to thank you, our wonderful listeners, for hanging out with us on the Hammock Hangers podcast. We hope that you have found relaxation, inspiration, and a renewed sense of connection to nature through our discussions. Remember to keep that hammock spirit alive in your daily life, whether it's by taking a few moments to unwind in your own backyard oasis or by planning your next hammock adventure in the great outdoors. Embracing the tranquility, embracing the simplicity, and never forget the joy that comes from simply hanging around. Before we part ways, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date with all things hammock related. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for the Hammock Hangers Podcast. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to hang with you again on our next episode. Until then, stay relaxed, stay adventurous, and keep on hanging those hammocks high. From all of us here at the Hammock Hangers Podcast, we wish you peaceful hangs and endless relaxation. Thank you for tuning in. Happy hanging, everyone.